Good morning, everyone. It's Nick with Lost Whiskey Barbecue. We're back. It's been a while since we've recorded anything, and by we, I mean me. We've been doing a lot of cooking, but I'll be honest with you, when you're lighting up a smoker at 3 in the morning, last thing you feel like doing is setting up camera and filming and everything else. But today, it's a beautiful day. It's Sunday. We're cooking some pork butts for tomorrow for an event, and we're cooking some ribs for lunch today. So I thought I'd just bring you along, see what we're doing. First and foremost, you can see smoker is running pretty dead even, around 275, 285, somewhere in that range. We've had the pork butts on for about an hour, and so on the last segment, my phone shut off, so you guys missed me putting on the ribs. No big deal, but we've got 3 racks of ribs on and 4 pork butts. I'm on for about 2 hours, 2:15. So some of the areas in here, we want to make sure that they're staying moist, not drying out. So we just give them a little spray. Pork butt's pretty hard to screw up, so I'm not too worried about it. And we'll do the same with the ribs. Those have only been on for about an hour, so we'll check back on those. We'll get them on the smoke for about 2.5 hours, and we'll get them wrapped up at that point. That's about it. Okay, so everything's been on for about 3 hours, the pork butts, and the ribs have been on for about 2 hours. Let's just take a look at them, make sure they're not drying out. All right, getting pretty good color. It's a quick look. You can see right around here, they're starting to dry out a little bit. So you just hit that with some water, apple cider vinegar, whatever you want. Doesn't really matter. All right, everything's looking perfect. Just a little bit more in there. So I think we're starting to get some fat turning yellow. It's still got a ways to go, but we're looking good. That's hot. So we're going to let these roll for these will be about another half an hour, maybe an hour. We'll let these go a little bit longer. They're not quite where I want them with the bark yet, although it's pretty well set. I just like it to get a little bit more color. So we'll probably wrap these another couple hours, and we'll wrap these in about an hour. And we'll show you that. All right, so everything's been on for about another hour. So the pork butts have been on for 4 hours. We'll just give those a check, but I don't think they're ready to wrap. We do want to wrap the ribs. Those have been on for about close to 3 hours. It's a little longer than I wanted, but I think they're gonna be fine. Just to give you an idea of what we're looking at here. These rib racks, I got the space in the smoker, to be honest with you, but these rib racks make everything easy, and I like them, so I'm using them if you can get everything out of them. So you can see the color we have is pretty good, deep red. They call it mahogany, I guess. So it's time to wrap. So on our wrap, we like to do a little bit of a sweeter one, a little more candied ribs. You can do it any way you want, obviously. A little brown sugar. This is from the competition circuit where we use the parquet, the squeeze butter. Just adds a little bit of fat. A little bit of fat to the mix. And a little bit of honey. Who doesn't like honey? It's not a whole lot, and then I like to add a little bit of the apple cider vinegar water combination. So we wrap them meat side down, and there's nothing special to the wrap. You just get them wrapped in. Well, I guess there is something special to it. You want to have them a pretty tight wrap so that the steam, the juices, everything is fairly well staying inside. But sometimes I add sauce in the wrap. Sometimes I don't. But I think at the end we'll sauce these. I think it's got plenty of braising liquid in there. Probably smarter to do this inside since it's windy out today, but yeah, we're almost done. So you see there's a thicker side and a thinner side. In terms of wrapping, it doesn't matter, but when I do put them back on the smoker, I like to put the thicker side towards the firebox. It's got a little more fat on it, a little bit more ability to take the heat, but wrapping them up is really going to protect them as well. So I'm not too worried about it. And when you put them back on, you want to have them meat side down. And that's really going to braise that meat and get it nice and tender. While we're at it, we want to check out our pork butts. Give them a little spritz. They're starting to get to where we want. I'm thinking 1 more hour, and then we'll wrap. So close her up, get her back up to temperature, and that's it. So in terms of cooking on an offset smoker, especially one this size, it's really all about managing your fire. Probably want a temperature range somewhere around as tight as you can get it, but variations plus or minus 10 to 15 degrees are fine. You can even go probably more than that. What you don't want are these really rapid spikes and drops. So as smooth and as slow as you can get. And clean smoke. I mean, I'm not sure if you can see up there. You've got almost no smoke coming out of the stack. You do have smoke, but you can't see it. So that's how you know you're burning a clean fire. Yeah, so that's how you know. You can see that you've got a nice hot fire in the firebox and you got almost invisible smoke coming out of the stack. All right, so the pork butts have been on for just about 5 hours, and we're gonna check them. I think it's probably about time to wrap them. We got our trusty thermopen here, so we're gonna pull them out, probe them, see where they're at, color-wise, and tenderness, and temperature, and everything else. So I don't think there's a hard and fast rule for when to wrap. Some people say before the stall, during the stall, after the stall. I think it's as simple as when it has the color you want and the bark you want on it. So, not sure if you can see, this has got a pretty good color to it. Pretty good bark, so I think we want to wrap and get them done. Here we'll give them a good spritz with the apple cider vinegar water combination, and then we're going to double wrap. And you want these wraps to be as tight as you can get them. And then get them right back on the smoker. Yeah, I think that's got a pretty good color, pretty good bark to it. Again, it's windy out here today, and probably should have done this inside, but as you'll learn, I don't learn. I like to have all the wraps to go up so that you don't leak out any juices. Kind of makes a little boat, makes less of a mess in your smoker. Just for fun, we're gonna just see where they're at. 157, 160. So this also helped get them through the stall a little bit faster. If this were a brisket, I'd be maybe a little bit more inclined to let it ride a little bit longer. But again, with these pork butts, you're really just trying to get a good color, good bark on them, and then get them tender. Okay. So we'll get them back on the smoker. They were cooking pretty evenly, so I'm just going to kind of put them back as they were. Sometimes if you have food it's cooking unevenly, you want to rotate it. This cooker, not to toot my own horn, but I built it myself, and it's actually got really even cooking all the way across, front to back, side to side. I'm no engineer, so I think I just got lucky, but hey, it works. So anyway, we're going to let those guys rock and roll for, they probably need at least 2-3 more hours, maybe 4. So we'll just probe them every hour or so and see where they're at. I like to pull them off around 195. I'll start probing, and they got to really be like probe tender. So when you're using the ThermalWorks, you know, you're basically using this as a toothpick. You're not really concerned about what the temperature is, but you're just trying to feel, they say like going through melted butter, but until you feel very little to no resistance. Ribs have been on about a little over 4 hours. They've been in the smoke for about close to 3 hours, and they've been braising wrapped for about an hour and a half. We're gonna start checking them and see if they're ready to take out sauce. If they're good and tender, we're just about there. We'll glaze them up with a little bit of sauce. We'll get them back on the smoker for 20-30 minutes tops. So let's check them out. Close this real quick. Well, I've already ripped it and spilling all over my table, but that's all right. So what you're looking for is kind of a bend test. They start to fall apart, or not fall apart, but they'll start to tear a little bit on top, and that's how you know that they're right about where they're going to be tender. So we'll go ahead and get these sauced, and you can use any kind of sauce you want. We've got a one we do in-house here. It's actually got mixed in with a lot of our, not a lot, but mixed in with our Lost Whiskey, which is our bourbon. So give them a simple glaze. This is sort of a thinner sauce. You can go thick and go sweet and do whatever you want. It's fine. Now you can see it's got a nice red glaze on it, and that'll set up real nice in about 30 minutes. Then you just get rid of your braising liquid. So again, ribs are not, I don't do ribs by temperature. I don't know anybody that does. You're really looking for tenderness by feel, color, and everything else. I guess if you were to temp these, they'd probably be in the 190 range. I've never actually done it. So part of what you're looking for in not only the feel but the look is you get these pullback on these bones. And that's how you know that you get about a 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch of pullback. It's a one indicator that they're almost ready. It's not the same every time, but you're looking at a lot of, there's a lot of different tests to see when a rib is done. Bend test, poke test, probe test, it's probably the same thing. And looking at the bones. So however you figure it out or however you want your ribs, that's how I like them. So I'm going to back on. So again, we'll let those set probably no more than 20 minutes. What a mess. Alright guys, so I got you on the handheld right now. So we just pulled the ribs off the smoker. You can see that the glaze is good set up. The sun is like directly overhead, so it's kind of washing everything out with brightness. You can just see how good these look and tender they are, and we're gonna let these set for, I don't know, 20-30 minutes, and we'll try some. I'll catch you then. Okay, so the ribs have been sitting out for about 15-20 minutes and rested, and just wanted to, I already actually cut one off just to show you, but well, not show you, for me to taste. So we'll cut one of these open. This is a paring knife. This is not what you want to use to cut ribs, but we're making do right now. All right. Now, this is what you work so hard for today. You get a nice smoke ring through here, get a nice glaze on top, and you get bite through tenderness. Comes right off the bone, doesn't fall apart. Those of you who cook and fall apart ribs, you're overcooking them. But this is perfect. Now you get to watch me eat. It's juicy, tender. Damn, that's good. Beautiful glaze, but not too thick. It's not slopped on. Now I have to edit this part out, but I'm just having too much fun eating. So we'll wrap these up. I'm gonna take some home. I'm at my shop today, so I'm sure my wife and son would love to have some, so I'm bringing them home to you. Okay, so the only thing we have left on are pork butts, and they're all wrapped. So right now, all we're worried about is not so much the cleanliness of the fire, although I think that's always important. It's just getting good, consistent heat on them. And if you wanted to throw them in the oven in your house, you could do that too. But we're just going to keep them on the smoker, let them ride. The pork butts have been on for exactly 7 hours. Now, I'm sure that they are far from being done, but this is around the time. you want to start checking. You got to know your cooker, and I know I've cooked pork butts as quickly as 8 or 9 hours on it before, so we don't want to overshoot it. So we're going to pull off a couple and temp them. Like I said before, these are the boneless ones, which not my favorite, but it's what they had. It's actually not too far off. So this one's temping at 187. So that's why we start checking them, but it's still having some resistance. So we're gonna let them go a little bit longer. That one's feeling pretty close actually, so these things are cooking faster than I had anticipated, which is fine. This one's a lot farther behind, so I'm actually going to rotate these closer to the fire. All that talk about my even cooker, and here they are cooking unevenly. But that's okay. If you're wondering why I'm kind of grunting, it's I've thrown out my shoulder, so every time I pick something up, it hurts. 186. So we'll put you up front. And we'll move those ones closer to the back. Depending on the smoker, the heat actually will come up here, get cooler in the middle, and then heat back up towards as it collects towards that fire, towards the stack. So you can actually cook those ones in the back faster, but must be a little bit more direct heat today. Not direct heat. I don't know what you call it. Anyway. Those were cooking faster, so I've simply just swapped places with them. And that's what you do on a big cooker like this. You just move your food around as needed to slow it down, speed it up, etc., etc. But they're all looking pretty good and shouldn't be too much longer. All right, guys and gals, it's been another 40 minutes or so. I pulled 3 off and I temped them already, and they were temping right around 200. It's probably a little bit. I probably wanted to pull them off a little bit before that, but it's not too bad. So they're just right at the right tenderness. I'm not feeling much resistance at all. We still have one on the smoker that is giving us a little resistance, and it's a little lower on the temp. It's not even in the 190s yet. So I'm going to pull these 3. They've been sitting out about 5 minutes. I'm going to let them sit out probably 5-10 more minutes, and then we'll get them rewrapped and in the cooler. I just want to get the cooking to stop. So we'll open one up here and you guys can see what we're working with. All right, perfect. So you can see here we've got, we still have pretty good bark retention. Sometimes with foil, the fear is that you'd wash away the bark. With pork butt, I'm not too worried about it. We're actually not going to eat these today. We're actually going to cool these down pretty rapidly this evening. And for an event on Tuesday, we're going to go ahead and reheat these via sous vide method, which I actually find creates a better product. If you've ever tried that, my theory, it's like when you cook chili, it's always better the next day. It had a chance to really marry and melt. So we're going to leave these just like they are. We're going to leave them in the cooler, let them rest for a couple hours, and then I'm going to start cooling them down, throw them in the fridge. So, yeah, I mean, that was a really quick cook. I mean, that was just shy of 8 hours. So, we didn't have the smoker very loaded today. Sometimes I've got 3 briskets, 4 pork butts, bunch of ribs, pork bellies on there, things like that. So the more you load down your smoker, the longer it takes. So it wasn't a whole lot on there today, and these actually cooked pretty quickly. We cooked at an average temperature around 275. We probably went as low as 255 and as high as 285 maybe. We didn't really get into the 290. So it's a warm day outside. There was some wind to deal with, but it wasn't too bad. All in all, I think it's a pretty successful cook, and I'm happy with it.